Hey everybody, it's Eric live alongside Rod to talk about Michigan State's 92-69 stomping of the Toledo Rockets tonight at the Breslin Center. Thanks again for joining us here after the game. As always, please feel free to comment on whatever platform you're on. This was, I guess we'll say it's a game of two halves. The first half was an impressive one for Michigan State as they were up 58-28 at the break behind some blistering shooting, dominance of the boards. Defensively, they kept Toledo from really getting too much into their offensive sets. And Jackson Kohler was tremendous. He had a double-double at the half. And the second half was a different story. Kohler sat some because of foul trouble. Spartans really started to have trouble keeping Toledo out of the lane and then out of their sets. And star Sonny Wilson really started going. He scored 18 of his 29 points the second half, got to the line quite a bit. In the end, Michigan State kept it fairly steady. Wasn't really a game that was really in doubt, really even the second half. I think they got it down to 19, and that's about as close as they got. Maybe got down to 15 or something this half, but it was a comfortable yet sort of unsatisfying 23-point win. So I don't know, where do you want to start, Rod? Do you want to start with individuals, or do you want to just kind of talk generally about the game?
Well, no, let's just talk about the team as a whole first. I thought the first half was good. I didn't think it was great, which sounds funny to say when you're up 30, but I didn't think they played great. I thought defensively they had real problems guarding those guards, and Toledo to some extent just missed some shots. Rebounding was obviously dominant. Michigan State shot the hell out of the ball, so that's why they were up 30.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was great. I thought it was good. Second half was awful. It's terrible. It's gross. In every way you can be. But the effort, the focus, the execution clearly was just bad basketball. And so that's really disappointing to see. This team had not had that issue up until lately, the last two games. And they've gotten away with it. But yeah. I'm here to tell you, if this keeps up, they're not going to get away with it. They're not getting away with this in Lincoln on January 2nd. So something's got to give. Izzo, I watched most of his post game, and he's putting it on the captains, and that's about as good a place as any to put it, I guess. They got to be better. The kind of mistakes that they made, I mean, they have 9 turnovers in the second half, and they were just awful. They were the worst, sloppiest, dumbest turnovers you can have. Toledo wasn't taking the ball from them. They weren't pressuring them to anything. No. Michigan State was just unfocused. They were lazy. You can't. That was an extremely irritating game to watch. Very, in my opinion, and disappointing to see that. So something's got to change between now and January 2nd. They got a couple games to play. I will say this. I thank God they get that damn game out of the way on Saturday, and then they can have some time to just practice, because right now this team desperately looks to me like it needs some ass kicking for the next several days. And I just wish they didn't have to play that game on Saturday. I wish they could get right to that, because that's what they need. It was just that was a game that you gained nothing from, zero. And that to me is the worst thing you can say. You go through a game, you didn't gain anything from it. They didn't. So, the problems there, you could say, well, they rebounded a lot better. Okay, but they should have. The problems, especially in the second half, making layups, still there. Sloppy mistakes, still there. Defense not connected the way they were earlier in the season, still there.
Mm-hmm.
And now on top of that, and I don't know, I'm not in a good frame of mind to talk about this. I have a feeling that I'm going to say things that I would regret. But now we've introduced a rotation issue that really, really troubles me.
Yeah.
and I don't understand it. I think I heard the explanation for it tonight in the post game, but I don't understand it. I do not think they'll get away with it in Lincoln. I think if they try that, they will lose that game.
Yeah,
because you're asking for 8 to 10 minutes where you're going to get blitzed. And it's not even the offensive end that I'm concerned about. I know that's what most people are hung up on. I'm not. They could survive it offensively. They can't survive it defensively. So, but it seems clear to me, this is 3 games really in a row now that they've done this, because they did it against Duke and they got away with it. And I think it just kind of caught people by surprise, but nobody was really focused on it. Now they are. This is intentional. And I don't like it. I don't think it's going to work. I'm very troubled by it, but we're not coaching that team. So,
well, and obviously you're referring to the fact that Denham Wojcik played 12 minutes. I mean, he had, we'll say, 3 turns. Yeah, they definitely don't look as good. And like you said, defensively, they just really struggled.
Here's the part that's really important. Yeah, the minutes he played matters. How many minutes did Divine Ugochukwu play on the ball? 0.
I don't remember. Yeah.
None. None. 0. Goose egg. That tells you this is not an accident. This is intentional. And I heard Izzo talk about it in the post game. He said the problem he feels he's got is his guards, other than Jeremy Fears, are not vocal. So he's talking about Divine.
Yeah.
And he said, if you're not vocal, you can't get us into our offense. All right. I want to believe that this is about teaching, which we've seen him do many, many times with playing time. Say, hey, you want to be the point guard, you got to be more vocal. And if you're not going to play at that spot at least. But listening to him talk, I don't know that I believe that right now. And if they're going to insist on doing this, it's going to cost them. Because I'm telling, and this is what I feel terrible about, because I do not, and people know this, we don't spend time bagging on MSU players as best as we can avoid that, But in my opinion, and I've seen 3 games of it now, but especially the last 2, I think they can survive it offensively. I don't think they could survive it defensively. I don't think Denham physically has the tools to guard. He was guarding Big Ten caliber guards tonight. We knew that. Toledo has 2 good guards.
Yeah.
Sonny Wilson in particular. You could see why. I think I mentioned in our preview, I'm kind of surprised he's still there, because I thought a high major would have come in and made him an offer he couldn't turn down.
Well,
he
especially
keeps this up.
Yeah.
Keeps this up. That's going to happen. And you can't look. Jeremy Fears wasn't good defensively tonight either. I'm not making excuses for him, but we all know Jeremy Fears is capable of doing the job defensively. Yeah. I don't know that Denham is. I'm pretty sure he's not. And in a Big Ten game, especially one on the road, you cannot give away 8 minutes, 10 minutes. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You will lose a game because of that. And that's, there are a lot of other problems too. That's not the only problem, but it's the part that's got me most concerned right now, because I don't understand it. You guys not vocal enough for, okay, get into his ass. But you don't. They've got answers. By the way, teams seem to be playing pretty well with Divine playing those backup minutes somehow. But I rarely over 30 years have I felt like this, where I'm looking at something that they are intentionally doing and I'm just not seeing it. I don't understand it. And worse, that it's got me concerned that it's really going to bite them. And you can't afford, we know how this is. You lose a game or two. If the goal is to win championships, you lose a game or two you shouldn't. That's it.
Yeah, you're out.
That's it.
Especially this year. Yeah, with the top of the league. I'll just push. Not going to push back, but I guess alternative theory is these are games that Michigan State, and we'll just say the next. I mean, Oakland should be as well. Oakland may not be quite as much, but Cornell should be. They should be comfortable wins, just like I think tonight was. Oakland will be a little bit. Oakland's always weird, so I'll just leave it at that. So that I think you just can't be quite so sure about. But I think you could make an argument. I think that what they're trying right now is they're just trying stuff to see sort of this is an experiment, right? This is an opportunity to experiment and see if you can make something work. Now, you can also point out the fact that he played a decent amount of minutes and they tried Divine off the ball, even when he was on the court, when there's no Jeremy Fears out there, where you would think that Divine would play point guard in a Big Ten game, which is a game you can't afford to lose. And yeah, they had leads, so I guess I'm not convinced this is the plan going forward, but I do think they are tinkering and trying things to see what's possible.
Well,
and I think you're pointing out what is pretty obvious, that it's just not going to work defensively. It's certainly defensively. I mean, he really had trouble staying in front of people, and physically he had trouble.
He gets swallowed up. We saw that against Penn State. He got swallowed up on a pick that just no chance. And that's the thing. I'm not bagging on him. He's trying.
Yeah.
He's a good effort guy. He's exactly what you would expect, but he can't, and he's not quick enough to overcome that. So I just don't see it. Look, I want to believe you're right about that. And that was my thought coming out of the Penn State game. When I watched tonight and I listened, more importantly, I listened to what Tom Izzo said after the game, I don't think that anymore. I think you're right. They're trying things, but I think the sense I got is they are trying this because they think this is the right way to go forward. And I just could not disagree with that more strongly. And as I've said repeatedly, if they're going to insist on it, it's going to cost them.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if they survive that. And that's the thing. You go into a game hoping that you survive significant segments. Come on. And I know they don't think that way, but that's how I see it. And not that fan belief matters, but I'm going to suspect that pretty much the entirety of the fan base, or near as, is united on this front because we've all watched these games. There's nothing. I'm not seeing anything. Now, again, Izzo's talking about something very distinct, which is basically, to describe it, to capture it, I need someone who can actually lead my team out there when Jeremy's off the floor. Okay. But not at this cost. So I don't know. I want to believe you're right. I don't think you are. I'm going to be shocked if we don't see exactly the same thing on Saturday. And I'm going to be shocked if we don't see the same thing against Cornell. I think it's going to have to be something that they take losses to get out of. That's where I'm at right now. And again, I'm going to trot out one of my least favorite lines in the world. I would love to be wrong, but I really mean that. I really mean it. When Divine didn't play a single second on the ball tonight, that is very, very, very telling. Because that says, okay, we're not even bothering trying to work on developing him anymore in that role. We've just decided he's better off the ball.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me. I don't get it. It also means that what you've essentially done is you folded the tent on Trey Fort.
Yeah.
Trey Fort is going, I mean, Izzo was also talking about, over Christmas, sometimes that rotation shrinks a little bit. Well, to me, it's looking like Trey Fort isn't going to play. And I understand there is reason to take issue with defensively with some of the things he's done. Occasionally his shot selection, but I'm not nearly, I'm just speaking for myself, I'm not nearly at a spot where I look at it and think, well, that's it. Trey's proved he can't help us. But that's one element of this, is that if you insist on this being your rotation going forward, Trey Fort becomes a non-factor. He's not going to play. And I don't think that's right either. So I'm
I agree
really troubled by this. As troubled as I am by these other elements of the way the game went tonight, this to me is the biggest deal, because it's got effects that will be felt a month from now if they insist on this.
Yeah, and I think, in trying to fix the two, if you watch this game, you wouldn't say that Divine is certainly the answer. I mean, he certainly was at Penn State, but it's not like there's just a lack of any possibilities there. We've talked about Jordan Scott, obviously, a bunch. And I mean, Kurt Tang certainly looked a lot better today too. Defensively, he was a little better, I think. Offensively, I think I sent a message to you in the first half. He looked for the first time like super comfortable, I mean, I know he's making shots, which helps, but he looked like he wasn't, not rushed. It just would look like a very natural sort of where he's moving to his spots. And anyway, it looked like he belonged out there for the first time, where there just wasn't a hesitation. There wasn't a sort of question or a pushing sort of, I'm trying to find stuff.
I'm going to hold to my, and it is flooring me that this is not where Izzo is getting to, because again, I've watched this program operate for 3 decades. To me, it seems screamingly obvious that Jordan Scott ought to be your starting 2, and you roll with Divine for the 8 to 10 minutes a night you need him to back up Jeremy at the point, and you get him some additional minutes at the 2 if it comes to that, and then Kerr and Trey kind of fill in where you need them. Jordan obviously capable of playing some 3 as well behind Cohen, but that to me is the obvious answer. And again, Jordan Scott does all the things Izzo loves. And he says he's his hardest worker, or jointly so, with Jackson Kohler. He said that the other day. So I don't understand it. If he just doesn't want to give Jordan, he doesn't want to put too much on him right now. I don't know what it is. I don't see why it even has to affect his minutes. It's just the role. It's just the way that the rotation would set up. But again, what I saw tonight tells me they are not seeing things that way. They are seeing things in such a way that they think Denim Wojcik has an important role to play. And that ought to scare the shit out of everybody, to put it bluntly.
Yeah. Well, Chuck Fish asked, any chance Izzo's just trying to send a message to Kerr and Trey, and to your point, maybe even Divine too.
I hope so, but I don't think so. I would love to believe that's true. But again, you could have said that coming out of Penn State, because at least Divine did play some point guard minutes in that game. But the fact that he played 0 tonight tells me it isn't just about sending messages. So that's why I'm talking about it much, much more.
And he played 17 minutes, so he played only 6 less than Jeremy. I think, is that right? Do I have that right? 10 less than Jeremy. Ugochukwu played 17 minutes. So
he played 10 minutes less.
10 minutes. You're right. Yeah, 10 minutes less. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously we'll have to, and maybe you have to try an experiment a couple times. I mean, that's just going to be my working theory for right now. And you could be entirely right. I do think press conferences for Izzo, they're a little bit of somebody sent a message to players, but he also conveys things sometimes, and other times I think, I don't know. I guess we'll just see.
Well, but again, it's not just the press conference.
No, I understand. I understand
it's
what you're
both.
saying. Yeah. Well, let's talk about some individual performances, and we'll stop talking about the two and the one here. So Jackson Kohler obviously had a really good first half. By the way, the Slido polls work. So if you're online, please, you're welcome to join in slido.com, and the hashtag is TIFNOTS, and that'll get you to our poll for who you think Michigan State's player of the game is. We'll review that at the end of the game, see if you agree with us. So Kohler, 16 points. I think he had 12 in the first half, or maybe even 14 in the first half. Ended with 13 rebounds. He had 11 in the first half. He was 7 for 13 for the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 3 assists, turnover, a block. Played 22 minutes. Somewhat shortened because of foul trouble early in the second half. He got that third foul, and then just the rotation sort of was kind of funny. Anyway, but he was pretty good in the first. I mean, he was like unstoppable in that first half, scoring on the offensive end.
Oh, he stopped himself a couple times.
Well, yeah,
as Izzo put
sure.
it, he should have had 20.
Okay,
in the first half. He did some good things. But and I understand we're talking about a guy who's rolling up double doubles like they're going out of style. I get it, but are you watching that game and thinking, man, that's the best that Jackson Kohler can give you? No, he's still struggling to finish plays, and we're not. It's one thing, the Duke game. I didn't get bothered as much by it because you're going up against legitimate size. Legitimate athletes, guys that can play. That's going to happen. Mm-hmm. These last two games, come on. He had one segment in the first half where it was 1-on-0 at the rim, and he missed twice.
Yeah.
He's
just bagging his offensive rebounding numbers. Yeah.
I know. Happen.
And then let's talk about Jeremy Fears. So he had 15 points, 4 for 11 for the field, 1 for 5 from 3, where he had that. I mean, he missed 4 threes in a row. I think the team was shooting like 58 or almost 60% from 3, and he dropped down to the 40s by half because with all those misses. 6% of the line, had 3 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, 8 assists, 3 turnovers, no blocks, no steals. Played 27 minutes, so not much. He sat a lot on the bench this game compared to usual.
Two straight bad games.
Yeah, I agree.
By his standards.
By his standards, yes, exactly.
He guarded Sonny Wilson a lot, and Sonny Wilson beat him. Yep. Flat out beat him. There's no excuse for that. And that's not a knock on Sonny Wilson, but there's no excuse for that. If you are the player that we think he is, there's no excuse for that. I thought the second half, some of the turnovers that he committed, he ended up with 3. So it wasn't crazy bad, but the ones he had were awful.
Yeah, they were 2 assists and 2 turnovers in the second half.
They were just
he threw one off the backboard, and then he threw one threw it away. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, just bad stuff. So, no, not a good game from Jeremy. Again, sorry to say. Got to be a lot better. And look, a lot of this stuff, we're talking about, wow, it's the captain's job, and it is. But, we all realize there's a captain of the captains, and it's him.
Right. Yeah.
So if the team has that kind of effort, when things are going great, you get the accolades. When they're not, it's on you too. So that's what I would say. He is capable of vastly better play, and they need him to be vastly better.
Then we come to Carson Cooper, who finished with 8 points, 2 for 5 from the field. He lined up a 3 and almost went down. 4 for 6 from the line, 9 rebounds, all defensive. Let's see, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, a couple blocks, had a steal. What's weird about him, and this is totally unrelated, but I think that was the 3rd time he's had a lane violation on his free throws this season.
Yeah.
I know he shot quite a few, and just but like Kohler will get them, but Kohler's like kind of a weird hitch in his free throw, so it doesn't surprise me when players have lane violations. But Carson's looks pretty normal. It's not like super slow or anything. And I don't understand why he gets so many. And I think every time he's had a lane violation, he's actually scored on the next one. And then even Cam Ward got one, and he ended up hitting his free throw that way too. But, Cooper, if there's, how many more points would he have had if he'd been able to just finish through some of those fouls?
Yep.
I mean, there were a couple that really should have gone.
Same deal. Like Jackson, he did some good things. It wasn't all negative by any means, but the other thing too is last couple games, Michigan State hasn't gotten very much done in the pick and roll game with rim dives.
Yeah.
And teams are getting wise to that and trying to take it away, but they've got to find ways to get that back into the offensive repertoire. But
yeah, I mean,
it's disappointing finishing from Carson.
There were a number of times that he was calling for it, and it wasn't there. Actually, they were doing a good job defending it. It's funny because Michigan State, when you look at the numbers, at least I'm looking at the stats here, they're 15 to 22 from layup, so 68%. It's not terrible, but I think a lot of those misses are ones where they were fouled that maybe they could have been and ones, and I think that might be somewhat we're seeing.
It is. It's also not completing some of those plays. No, was it as bad as it was against Penn State? No, but this is a MAC team.
Right, yeah. And a team that, right, exactly. All right, so then going through other players. So it's so funny because I feel like some of these players had some really good things. So Cone Carr, 14 points, got back in the scoring, 6 for 11 for the field, misses 3, hit both his free throws, 4 rebounds, 2 of them offensive. 4 turnovers, no assists, and a block in 21 minutes. I mean, a little better, but I still think we saw kind of the same stuff we've seen from Cone, where he just kind of like is just sort of there. I don't know.
Well, he hasn't found it yet. I've said job one, and they've got a few jobs, but in my opinion, job one is they've got to find a way to get him to be consistently impactful. And tonight was not there. It was okay. He did some things at times, but not where he needs to be.
Yeah. Divine Ugochukwu coming off his 23-point career high, finishes this game with 2 points, only takes 2 attempts, 2 shots, hits his layup, barely got rim on his 3-point attempt. And for as many minutes as he played, he, 1 rebound, no assist, no turnover. I mean, kind of like an empty stat sheet for a guy who starts and plays as much. And, I guess you expect that he wouldn't get everything he did the first game, just because it's almost for sure always happens after you have like a big breakout game. The team obviously was there taking away what he was doing against Penn State. But still, I mean, it was surprising how little he sort of impacted the game.
The only thing you could say positively for Divine is that he didn't force anything, which a lot of guys coming off a 23-point game would have done. There were opportunities where he could have taken less than great shots, and he didn't. Mm-hmm. So I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, he didn't really impose himself on the game very much at all.
And then Kurtang,
again, he's playing off the ball. That's
Well, he's got to find. I mean, he's supposed to find ways to come around those screens. I don't know if he wasn't. The screen wasn't as good. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I can't watch everything at once. But Kurtang, 14 points, 5 of 9 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, had a rebound, assist. He's played 17 minutes as well. I thought, as I said, I think this is one of his better games that he's had. I mean, because I think he was a little better on the defensive end than he even against Kentucky. That was like his last really good game, I think.
Shot looked good. That's for sure. Yeah, the most confident since the Kentucky game. So that's a positive. But again, it's going to be this revolving door at the 2, and thus far, we've got no indication that anybody is seizing it just yet.
Right. Just as soon as you think someone has, then you have reports like, and that's sort of like his demise today. Next is Cam Ward. He finishes 5 points, 2 for 3 from the field, split his free throws, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 1 of offensive. Yep. Had a turnover, also played 17 minutes. Started to look a little bit more himself, I think.
Yes.
Able to squeeze that ball a little bit. That fantastic pass and the fast break from Scott, who was behind his own 3-point line, pass all the way up ahead to Cam, and ended up dunking it.
And that he was able to catch it was big.
Yeah, right, exactly. Caught it and was able to. Yeah.
This is the best he's looked since the North Carolina game when he got hurt. So that's an encouraging sign that he was able to give them something. And again, I mean, look, he and Jesse McCullough, if Jackson and Carson aren't gonna bring a little more than they're bringing right now, sit their asses. Play the young guys who at least are gonna give you max effort and focus. I hate to say it, but that's where I'd be right now. I think it was justifiable to play those two young guys even more than they did.
Yeah. Then Jordan Scott finished with only 2 points, missed both his 3-point attempts, a couple rebounds, 3 assists, a turnover, or no turnovers, had a steal. Disruptive his usual sort of self, a little bit less impactful than I think he's been the last couple of games.
I think that's true, but once again, he had an unbelievable pass to Jesse McCullough for a dunk. Best pass of the night by anybody. If it was me, he'd be starting.
Well, and sometimes you have to give everybody else an opportunity to say, well, I guess no one else really is going to take it. Because, I mean, Jordan is the last one to not start in that 2 spot, right? I mean, pretty much everybody has, and he's the freshman. And I guess you give the upperclassmen their opportunities, and, we'll see what happens going forward. Trey Fort, as you kind of mentioned, kind of feels like the odd guy out. He's finished with 3 points, misses 1 3-point attempt, split some free throws, a couple rebounds. Let's see, an assist and a steal in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. I don't even remember him playing 12 minutes, but
no, he played, was it 12? Really? No.
Oh, 7. Sorry, 7 minutes. I'm looking at down below. Yeah. So 7, that seems about 7 right. Yeah. He played 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, if you're telling me that this is for teaching purposes and they're trying to get through to him in some important ways and get him improved, fine. I could accept that, but I'm concerned that that's not what's going on.
Yeah. I think kind of at this point, it's sort of, I don't know. I think that teaching has sunk in by now. I don't know that it's going to by more minutes off the floor, but we kind of talked about Wojcik. He's 0 for 3 from the field, no points.
Jesse McCullough.
Right. We'll talk about him. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of going down the list here, but he played 12 minutes. To Wojcik's credit, he had 6 assists, 1 turnover. To your point, offensively, they looked okay with him. It's just the defensive end.
Look, that's not to say it's perfect offensively either, because the problem is, and you saw it in this game, teams will let him shoot. I mean, if you think teams let Jeremy shoot, come on.
Yeah, right.
So that's a problem, but I think they can survive it offensively. I do. Because I think Denham is a good passer. I do think he gets them into sets.
Yep.
As long as he's out there with the right kind of combination of players, I don't think the offense has to fall off a cliff. But that's only half the story.
Yeah. And then Jesse McCullough, as you point out, 7 points, perfect from the field, 3 for 3, hit his 1 3-point attempt as well, 8 rebounds, 3 offensive, had 1 assist, couple turnovers, 3 blocks in only 14 minutes. And, I guess you could say if someone had really looked good, he had probably the best individual performance of anybody.
Yes.
You're happy about his game.
I would agree with that. I thought Jesse played really well. It was his best game in a while. Maybe since Kentucky. Trying to think if that was
even better in some ways. Because I think defensively he was pretty good too.
Well, yeah,
and
8 rebounds. 8 rebounds is impressive, and I thought he competed. I love his future. I think he's going to be a really good player before he's done, and I liked what he did in terms of his overall floor game tonight. I thought he was really good. And again, to me, if Carson and Jackson aren't going to play better in terms of their finishing, in my mind, sit them. If you're gonna do this, teaching with playing time stuff, hey, just the fact that you're a senior doesn't mean you're above it.
Right.
And tonight, at least, those 2 freshmen were better players, in my opinion.
And then finally, I guess, so it's funny. I turned to my wife at some point the first time, I'm like, wow, they're actually finally going to finish above 40% in the Breslin Center from 3. Because we've talked about that they haven't been able to shoot threes at home. And then of course they're sub 40 with 2 minutes left in the game. I turned around and said, well, this, now there's no chance because they're going to start these, backups are going to come in and start chucking and missing. And proving me wrong, both Walton twins each hit a 3. They both take 1 shot and hit their 3. And pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's good for them to have that moment at home, and good for the team, I think. I mean, this team is now solidly in the top 25 nationally, top 25%, I should say, of teams in shooting the three.
Yeah, they're 74th.
So yeah, that's top 20%.
Yeah.
So, that's I'm more concerned with the twos than I am the threes right now.
Yeah. Right. Well, and Tim Johnson said thanking us for the show. We appreciate it, Tim. Thanks so much for your support of the show as well. All right. Well, let's move on then. We'll get into more specifics, I guess, as we kind of move on along in the show. So very interesting world we live in that I could be in the Caribbean yesterday and then cross-country skiing today. Quite an interesting place. So that does remind me, though, that even with those weather changes I returned home and, well, so we're down on our anniversary vacation, and my wife's asked me, "Oh, what do you see out there?" And I was looking down. I said, "Actually, I'm checking out the gutters of this at this place." She's looking out over the ocean and stuff. I was looking down at this building below us, and the gutters had a bunch of leaves and stuff in them. We're in the jungle. It said, "I can't believe you're talking about gutters when you're here on vacation," but I was, because it's important. You got to make sure it's taken care of. And I was just thinking to myself, I would want to get up there and clean those out with monkeys and all that kind of stuff floating around. So make sure you have your gutters taken care of. Contact the brothers Just Your Gutters. Kurt and Greg will take great care of you, whether you're on the east or the west side of the state. You can head over to our support page to get estimates from them at tffinots.com/support. And you get 10% off. You just mentioned Final Four when you get your estimate. They'll take care of you. And they sponsor the player that Michigan State needed to keep in the gutter. I didn't even bother putting the poll out because I think this was pretty clearly that Michigan State did not keep Sonny Wilson in the gutter. He finished with 29 points, 10 for 15 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, 6 for 8 from the line, had 1 rebound, 5 assists, no turnovers, 4 steals, no blocks. He's the first player I think we can definitively say they did not at all keep out of the gutter. Yeah, it was overflowing.
He killed him. And if he needed a calling card, that's assuming that he wants to play high major basketball.
Yeah, send that tape.
That tonight was the night. I mean, that's the stuff. This is the only game Toledo's going to play all year against high major competition unless they make the NCAA tournament.
Right.
So this is one that when Michigan State has been in these situations, I vividly remember part of the reason there was confidence in Tyson Walker is he really gave it to North Carolina when he matched up against them that year when he was at Northeastern. That's something that people look at. So he was really good. I thought physically, could a couple of those plays have been called offensive fouls? Yes, they could have. The officiating was not good tonight. It's no excuse for anything. I'm just saying it was bad.
Yeah.
That crew did a poor job, in my opinion. And that was one of the ways they did. But if you're going to get away with it, keep going to the well. And he physically, how many times did Michigan State guards fall to the floor guarding him? Multiple times.
Jeremy was on the floor half-time. He's like 3 or 4 times.
That is obviously Sonny Wilson's doing.
Yeah.
So credit to him. He made shots when he had them. I thought he was really good. And no, Michigan State did nothing to limit him.
Yeah. As Jim McKay mentioned, Sonny put fears in the gutter. I think that's probably pretty accurate.
Pretty much.
Pretty accurate. If you need your windows cleaned, make sure that you contact the Swedish Squad of Grand Rapids. And again, I want to remind everyone before the end of the year, if you get this scheduled, even if it's not done until I think the end of February, you get an extra discount in it on top of the 15% off you get if you mention Final Four when you get the Swedish Squad of Grand Rapids come out and take care of it. Whether it's your business, whether it's your home, again, for your businesses and homes, Troy and his team recommend you do it at least twice a year to make sure your windows are clean and you can see in and out of them. Your customers can see in and out, so they can schedule and get you on and get a great price for you. They come out and do it the inside, the outside. And again, they do fantastic work, great pricing. If you're anywhere within sort of hundreds of miles of Grand Rapids, give them a call. You'll be glad you did. So you can go to our support page, of course, at the Final Four on the schedule.com/support to get a hold of Troy and get that scheduled. Again, have them get in letters, help them take care of everything. They'll do a great job. And so for the rebounding contest, I was down 6-3. This is one where I was not even the least bit worried after the Jackson Kohler had 10 rebounds in the first half or 11. And he ends up only finishing with 13. And so Had you had a different combination, you could have somehow pulled this off. Well, you could have tied it. You could have had you had Coop and McCullough, you could have had 17. But I ended with Kohler and Carr with 13 and 4, and then you had Coop and Scott with 9 and 2. So I'll come away with the win here. Kohler pulls me through, kind of dragged me across the finish line in what looked like a runaway, and then got a little tight.
Yeah.
Although a lot of those rebounds that Kohler was getting the first half were some from his misses, as you said, he was offensive rebounding his own misses. I think he ended up with like 5 or 6 offensive rebounds. Yeah, 6 of them. So almost half his rebounds were offensive. They weren't all his misses, but a couple of them were. All right. And then brings us 5 keys to the game, brought to you by Nudge Printing. You still have time if you want to go over to nudgeprinting.com/win. You can enter for a chance to win a Gruff Sparty North Face backpack. It's totally free to enter the drawing. I think you usually go a little over 100 people, so chances are pretty good. Make sure you head on over there. Even if you enter the last month's drawing, you can still enter this month as well. Head on over and you can check out the rest of the stuff at Nudge. I think there's still time to get stuff by Christmas. I just put my last order in for Christmas. Fortunately, my daughter listens to the show, so she would have no idea that's coming. You can go over to nudgeprinting.com, 20% off if you type in TIFNOTS, that's TFFINOTS at checkout. You can get all this great stuff. You can also buy some logo stuff. Like I've got this quarter zip for Final Four is on the schedule if you like the logos. Again, the best apparel, fantastic stuff. You won't regret it. All right, so let's talk about the first key to the game, ball security. Well, Michigan State finished with 15 turnovers to Toledo's 4. So not good. I think with the turnovers from last game against Penn State, now they've had 32 turnovers in 2 games. So not good. The only good thing you can say about this is that points off turnovers, they did a good job of not letting Toledo score much. So even though Toledo had 4 turnovers, Michigan State scored 11 points off those 4 turnovers. And Toledo only had 11 points off Michigan State's 15 turnovers. So I guess you could say that was good, but that's about all you can say.
Yeah, this was a different kind of game, though. This wasn't as opposed to the Penn State game where I really felt their ball security was just terrible. They weren't strong with the ball. This one wasn't about not being strong with the ball. This was about brain freezes.
Yes.
And just terrible passing decisions. So it was a disaster, but it wasn't the same kind of disaster I'd worried about.
Second key to the game was rebounding, and this is one that I think Michigan State could get a double check. They had a 54-24 edge, a 30 rebound edge overall on Toledo. They had 18 offensive rebounds, and Toledo only had 18 defensive rebounds, to give you an idea sort of what it was. Toledo with 6 offensive rebounds. So Michigan State had a 55% offensive rebounding rate. Toledo finishes with a 15% offensive rebounding rate. So in this category, Michigan State totally dominated, which you'd expect. But I will note that a couple years ago, teams that Michigan State should have done really well, they weren't. And so now at least they're smashing teams they should smash.
Yeah, that's the one thing team-wide that I think you could feel good about.
I think there's one
Toledo,
other we'll talk about.
Toledo was not a great rebounding team by any stretch, but they weren't a disaster. They faced worse rebounding teams this year.
Yeah.
And MSU just tattooed them. And a lot of it was about ramped up effort and toughness. So I'll give them credit for that. That's the one thing on a team-wide basis, I guess, besides the 3-point shooting that you could feel good about.
Well, I'll throw another stat just because I want to make us feel a little bit better about things. That wasn't one of the keys. Fast break, Michigan State had 36 points to Toledo 16. So they were up, I think it was like 25-4 at halftime from a fast break standpoint. So that first half, they really, really made Toledo pay. And that's, largely why they ended up with a 30-point lead at halftime.
Yeah, it's the first time maybe all year that you've seen Michigan State's break just really get going, at least for a half. So that was nice to see.
And also, I guess the one thing I'd add too about as far as the offensive rebounding, whereas Michigan State had a decent offensive rebounding rate against Penn State, it didn't really amount to much. They only ended up with a 13-10 edge. In this game, they had a 17-5 edge and second chance points. So it definitely translated into an advantage, which ultimately they needed to win. But moving on to the third key to the game was Cone Carr. Could you get him going? I think we sort of answered that a little bit maybe, but certainly not the
Yeah,
car we need to see like we saw
ha-
in the tournament last year.
half step in the right direction, but that's at most what you can give him. They need a lot more.
And then the fourth key to the game was 2-point offense. As I mentioned, Michigan State was 15 for 22 from from layups. I'm trying to see what their actual 2-point shooting was. They were 24 for 44, which is not terrible, I guess.
It's okay.
55%. So
it's okay. Yeah,
you know,
it's okay. You'd like to see that number maybe up around 60.
well, in a
but
team that like this, you'd expect it should have been better because it's not a
right.
good historically, it's not, or at least this year has not been great.
The Penn State
2-point
game
defense.
was so awful that anything's going to look better in comparison. But Michigan State. Let me see where the updated. I haven't looked at.
They're
it.
still sub 200, I think, or
Okay.
around 200 for 2
Well,
point. I can check too, but
they came in at I think at 203, and they are now at 203. So it didn't help them much. So it's still a problem. It was a little better tonight, but you're not looking at a game where you come away from it saying, boy, they really solved their problem there. No.
And then the fifth key to the game was motivation. And I think this is where you probably notice the Sonny Wilson probably the most. I think, as you mentioned, this is his one opportunity to play against a high major team back in his home state, Michigan, playing against Michigan State. He definitely brought it. I'm sure he had tons of family in the stands as well. So hats off to him, I guess. And that's the motivation fear you have against teams like Toledo with all these Michigan players.
Thankfully, it was just one guy. There are
right,
other
exactly.
Michigan kids. Blyden was okay, but he didn't really set the world on fire. And none of the other guys really did very much. So thank God for that it was just limited to one guy. But yeah, he pretty clearly came out there and played like he had a point to prove. And he did. I mean, that's a Big Ten caliber guard. There's no two. And I don't want to overplay it. They're going to see better guards in league play. But that's a guy who could play in the Big Ten, and he could start at a lot of places. Yeah, I tell you this, he's better than anybody Rutgers is rolling out there. He's better than anybody Minnesota's rolling out there, just to start with.
Right. Well, there's every reason to think that we may see him again next year.
Maybe.
Right? I mean, it would not be unusual for someone to stay in the same region.
I'd be surprised if people don't come calling. But I thought that last year too.
Yeah, and that's a credit to Kowalczyk, the head coach for Toledo, that he managed to hang on to a guy like Wilson for this long. Maybe a little bit of the motivation was he's going to play. He probably helped recruit his former teammate Blyden from Detroit, and maybe he wanted to at least play a year with him. I mean, I don't know what sort of the motivations of players, or he didn't get the offers that the places he really wanted to play because, I don't know. I mean, I suppose playing at Rutgers would be better than playing at Toledo, but I don't know. In some ways, maybe it's better playing at Toledo than it is for Rutgers. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what his situation was, but I'm going to be surprised if based on his season to date and then what he did today. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get good opportunities. Not just in the Big Ten either.
Right. All right. Well, Michigan State will head to Little Caesars this Saturday, to take on Oakland. I guess one of the big questions is, will it be another ugly sweater matchup between Izzo and Kampe?
Bet on it.
I think, it's funny because after the first time it happened, Izzo kind of made it sound like it was just like a one-time thing, but then he wore the Grinch sweater again. He might feel like it's an appropriate sweater, and maybe it fits, with the way I'm sure he's feeling right now. So maybe he'll want to have the Grinch sweater on again. I don't know. And then I think as far as Kampe, I guess we'll talk about it a little bit when we talk about Oakland, but certainly we're going to see some zone or weird zone or whatever you call it at Oakland. And so all those people who are worried about Michigan State playing against the zone, I guess can not sleep well for the next few days.
That's
Although
right.
I don't think you or I are that quite as concerned with just zone in general. All right. Well, I'm still dealing with mosquito bites, and so which is obviously I did not pick up here in Michigan. So we'll wrap it up there. It was kind of a quick show, and we'll see everybody later. So until next time, the Final Four is on the schedule. Go green.